I'm now going off searching them. It's Sunday, so most people have gone home. So I'm going off actually trying to hunt some fish down. And they're absolutely everywhere. Take its time to get to the soles. Nah, come on, sod it. But it's just the big pits, I don't know, it's just that sense of freedom in the rawest form, freedom, escapism. I wouldn't have it any other way. Oh mate, one of them. I've always said if you're on them on a big pet and you've got rigs presented, you should catch him. But half eight, just as that light was fading, that plateau was the dance floor and there was a bloody party on it. There's only a small area, 30-foot circle, 2 rigs on it, and they're just boom, 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 boom. Sat there in the head of me and surprised they didn't file up one in the pecs. It was like you were right on top of him. Literally, I should have filed up one. You were right on top of him. Nothing. Basically teamed up with the old man and chasing him around like absolute lunatic. Couldn't sit out in that corner on that plateau any longer. The fish were there, but they just weren't having it, And yeah, black 40 pound and just clattered it out. So got a zig out. Got 2 singles, started getting savage liners, thinking right, it's going off, they're showing over these single baits, probably 12 foot deep, but I've got drops, the water's quite clear, bright ones, good chance of a take here. And then that wind picked up, the wind's changed, and the line has stopped and the shoals have stopped. The old guy's got to the drive and he's found him, so looks like it's on the toes again. Literally on fish, constantly chasing them around like a madman, giving them everything, singles, zigs, bit of bait, literally trying everything to nick a bite. Constantly on fish, I've just been on fish now, we had 2 hours, boom, 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 showing over the top of my singles and next to me zig, couldn't get a take. Now they stopped showing, time to go move to them again. Big lakes react to big conditions. Hard wouldn't do. We're gonna get the spot out. 2 nights left. Chasing them about is not working. These fish do not want to be zigs in the middle of a hatch, swifts and swallows like that. In the middle of a hatch, fish rolling, swifts and swallows, zigs right in the middle of them. Nothing. Singles on the red, nothing. Traps in the edge, little bits of bait. I've been on fish consistently. I've moved like 9 times off the top of my head. Maybe 10 times. My dad's done the same. Dad's lost 2 fish. I've had no takes whatsoever. Just 1 fish would turn this trip round. To get another bucket. Well, after grafting it out for days and days and days, I've moved. Fished different tactics. I did say, didn't I, that I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours out on the boat watching carp. and when they come up to spawning, they always kind of spawn in the eelgrass. If there's other types of weed or there's no eelgrass, they'll spawn anywhere, but if there's eelgrass in the area, they'll always pick the eelgrass. Same with the breamers, they always pick the eelgrass. I've watched them countless times do it. And obviously I knew it was coming up to spawning time, there was a lot of eelgrass in this area, so I decided to give him a big bucket of bait, stop fishing singles, stop fishing zigs, give it a big bucket, and he had a bite almost instantly, you know. Within an hour of putting this big bucket out, I've had this bite. Unfortunately lost it, but it's one of them, you either let it get you down, or you take it as a positive and think, well, I've just had a bite quick after putting the big bucket out. No doubt, you know, if you stick at it, there's another bite to be had. We've had high pressure, horrible conditions, flat calm. We've got these big conditions coming in, the wind's going to spin round and start pushing at us. It's going to go overcast, dismal, raining. I thought throughout the night there's a good chance. Woke up this morning to a couple of touches, looked out, the conditions have come in, as you can see now. It's overcast, dismal, raining. The conditions have come in, looked out, and a load of freshly ripped up eelgrass bouncing the rod tips, you know, just kind of slamming on the rod tips where the wind's pushed it in throughout the course of the night. Now, in spring, fresh weed doesn't rip up on its own. There's only something doing that, so I kind of guess I was right. The fact that fish always go to the eelgrass to spawn, you know, I proved myself right on that one. But what I was wrong on was the timing, you know. I thought these fish would have another few weeks left before they would get ready to spawn. This was the penultimate moment, you know, the penultimate moment of the session. This big bucket had gone out, I finally had a bite off it, even like an hour of putting it out. It was about to kick off, the weather was coming. It was like the penultimate moment, all this hard graft and all this hard effort was just about to pay off. And yeah, they kicked off spawning. So it's one of them, wound in. Went round to find exactly where they were spawning. I just went and enjoyed the spectacle, sat there for hours just watching them up on an end. Got some slow-mo footage of them, watching them come right in the margins, you know. Real cool, to the point where I spent hours just watching them. To the point literally where, you know, it starts going dismal and dull, and then you get what looks like blue algae drifted into the margins, but it's not, it's just all carp sperm. Looks very similar to blue algae, just all drifted into the margins, you know, you can smell it. It's watching them spawn for hours. Yeah, it's a sight to behold, you know, a proper spectacle, but unfortunately that's all she wrote for this session. Yeah, well, you can't let it beat you up, can you? You know, at the end of the day, I'm not going to try and claim this lake as a really hard lake. It's not, but it can be. You know, it's big open pit, sit out long quite a lot. It can have savage weed and bars and zebras and stuff like that. It can be hard, but in terms, it's not the hardest lake in the world. Now, I'm just a boy in a man's world most of the time. You know, some of the lakes I fish like 200 acre, the one I'm fish targeting at the moment, it's just ridiculous. Like 3,000 plus acres, you know. I fish waters that are way out my depth. I'm just a boy in a man's world most of the time, so I'm used to the blanks. You know, I'm way out my depth. 95% of the fishing that I do, I'm way above my head. I just don't know why. I just kind of enjoy that, though. You know, being out my depth, I enjoy it. That's what kind of turns me on. That's what sets my soul on fire, so to speak. But half the time, I'm at my depth, so I'm kind of used to doing the blanks. You know, and keep going back and going back. You can't let it dishearten you. At the end of the day, apart from like the effort that you put in, the determination, the sacrifices, you know, literally just the effort, we definitely put that in. You know, you can't knock that. It's not through the want to not try. And we've grafted this session, both of us, fishing separately, then fishing together, then going off on our own and teaming back up. You know, we grafted. So it's not through the want to not try. You know, we put the effort and the determination in, and the sacrifice and the graft and stuff like that. But apart from that, success in fishing is a collection of time, decisions, and luck. Now, we made some bad decisions. Luck, Lady Luck, she definitely wasn't our lady this session. You know, she wasn't on our side. And then timing, thought we'd got it right. You know, a couple of weeks before they were due to spawn, should be all grouping up, get on that group of them, cane them. Obviously we timed it completely wrong. The effort and that was there. The effort was definitely there, but the timing, the luck, and the decisions was all a little bit out. And I suppose that's what success in carp fishing is. It's a collection of all them different things added together into one big sum. But all we can do now is go back to work, write another holiday request form out, bang it in, and hopefully get back down to you for another go, eh? That weed doesn't have shot up in the last few weeks. Bloody hell, it's like a 50-acre football pitch. Well, we're back with another beating, eh? For 3 reasons really. First reason was my dad's birthday yesterday, so I wanted to treat him to a bit of fishing, and we both booked a week off work. So that was the first reason. Second reason was, obviously, stuff didn't go to plan last time. Right, really didn't go to plan. Everything was out, timing, decisions, luck, everything was just against us. Didn't really, without making excuses, it didn't really go to plan. And there were some people that kind of puts them off. For me, it just kind of makes me want to come back and actually do alright. I don't know, it's hard to describe. The more I get beat, the more I enjoy it. So I've got a score that needs settling. And then the third reason was, I also have a passion for obviously creating like videos. I love just playing with my camera really, I've got a passion for it. But I never really do nothing with him. You know, I've like campaign videos and in-session videos. On me, I'm like, I must have 30, 40 films. Like from anywhere from 20 minutes up to 2 hours long. Different kinds of watch, different stuff. And I've never done nothing with him. I've got a YouTube channel, I got one video on it, a little perch fishing video. I just do nothing with him. But I have a passion for creating him. I thought, you know what, I'm actually going to do something with one of him. And last time I put 110% into a video in it. And what you've got to bear in mind is, I've got a few things against me. One, I'm self-taught. I'm not like a professional videographer. Third thing is, my camera kit is pretty basic. You know, I've got a couple of good things, but it's pretty basic. I've got 2 cameras, but one's not real good for the video. I've got one camera, a little GoPro, you know, a cheap little tripod, and my iMac for editing on is pretty outdated after features that I need to use for editing don't work. So I can't really do it in the best of qualities, and it's all kind of against me. And plus, I'm videoing on my own. To try and video someone else is much easier. You can create a much better quality content when you're videoing someone else. I'm trying to video myself. Doing vlogs aren't easy, like videoing yourself. So I've got everything against me, but I feel like I made like a really good quality video. You know, all the shots are perfect. The storyline will all come together nice. The concepts of the film come together, but the end result just wasn't there. So I kind of had to scrap that. So it'd be nice to kind of make up for it, have something, just have that kind of quality of footage but with the result. So we're back with another beating. Basically, different lake, absolutely choked, 50 acres, just a complete football pitch. 14, 15 foot of water, I know from previous, and it's just on the surface, just solid Canadian, proper rooted, fresh, you know, 1st of July today, so it's proper fresh. Sorry, it's the 1st of July, it's proper fresh. Solid weed in its prime, on the surface all the way across. So I've had to take my 12-pound mono off, which you have to chuck in distance, because you can't physically chuck distance. You know, it's a 50-acre pit, but it's a big 50-acre pit. I think it's just because of the shape of it. It's a wide old pit, and then fish spend a lot of time out in the middle, 250 yards. Don't care, you're never hitting them. So a lot of it's range fishing. Now, at the moment, you physically couldn't, even if you could reach that range, because the weed is 150 yards out on the surface. It's horrendous, like really bad. That would be a train. Yeah, it's like really bad. It's, well, I think it's 450 yards across where I'm, like, from one bank into the other, what I'm looking at. And you normally shot in the middle, so like 225, stuff like that. But this weed is going like 1/3 the way out, so the weed's going out 150, 180 yards on the surface. And it's like 14, 15 foot, you know, it is chocker. It's changed over to 18 pound mono, took the 12 off, changed over to 18. Did really long shock leaders, like 4 or 5 rod length shock leaders, 30 pound, tied bigger knots than what I normally use, because I can't cast far, because the weed, I can't fish over the back of it, you know, I need to fish close. At the moment I'm 14 wraps, so I know I'm not fishing far, I can use a bigger knot, it's not rattling through the eyes as much, big tight knot. 30 pound shock leaders, big long shock leaders, 18 pound mono. Gone for 5 ounce leads, probably set that hook home, size 4 hook as well, and just hook and hold. It's real bad, but I found a spot in all these channels. There's a load of channels, and I've had a flick in the channels, but it's just weed under the surface. Just because it's not on the top, it's still under the surface. Now there's one channel where you've got like a 20-foot circle and you're just getting crack, 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 you slide it, locks up solid. It's like 14 foot of water and open previous, and it's on the surface left and right of this spot. So you can imagine you've got 14 foot of solid fresh Canadian, and in the middle of it you've just got an iron spot. Like absolute mega spot, definitely going to hold fish. So I've give it half a 17 litre bucket, probably just over half, and I've got 3 rigs out on it, 2 on pop-ups just to be safe, even though I'm pretty sure it's really clean, and then I've got 1 on the deck and I match the hatch. But yeah, a lot of barleys, and mainly all barleys, but a bit of seed and that in there, some tuna and loads of smell, and but mainly bigger items to try and get them feeding on the barleys more than more than the seeds. I want the seeds out there because there's going to be a lot of snails in that weed. They're going to be used to eating snails in and around that weed, so I want all that seed out there, but mainly I want to get them focused on the barley. So I've got a lot of barley in there and I've scattered it wide. It'd be mega if you could use a boat for landing them or going out baiting up, but it's obviously you can't on this water. If I could use braid, I'd be using braid, not 18 pound mono, but obviously you can't. You've got to stick to the reels. Ideally, I'd like to have a boat with me, and ideally I'd like 18 pound braid, but it is what it is, you got to stick to the reels. So basically though, in this channel, mega spot, 14 foot of weed either side, solid Canadian, all round it weed, and it's the only spot I found in this entire swim. I found a couple of little tiny spots you can maybe just squeeze one rod on, but it's hit and miss. If you're even going to land on it or not, you know, like real hit and miss. Out there is big enough for 3 rods. I've got 3 rods out there and I've just basically spotted, but widely, as though like if I was going out in the boat, the way I'd kind of do it, I'd kind of flick it here and there a little bit, so I wouldn't just bait tight, you know, not your typical like how you'd fish linear 3 on the spot. This is like the complete opposite. It's 3 on the spot, but like spread wide. Put a couple of spots far, a couple of spots left, a couple of spots right, you know, big area. Basically that channel I've just laced it, but the spots have only like quarter filled them. I think it's like 60 odd spots I put out, 70 odd spots, but like only like quarter filled them, so I've got like nice little even spread of bait. Basically trying to replicate what I'd do if I was baiting up from the boat. So got 3 out there for the night. If nothing happens, I'm going to try and find somewhere that's a bit less weedy, because there's no point hooking them to lose them. However, it is looking really bad, but we've got 8 days left and a few other waters as well we're going to fish. A bit of a road trip, not staying on here the whole time. I just want to try and nick one, kind of settle the score, and hopefully get a film in the bag off that footage that I had beforehand. But yeah, nick one would be nice. See what happens in the morning, but for tonight I'm pretty happy. See what happens in the morning, and maybe a rechange of plan, maybe a move, but for now I'm quietly confident. Not going to quite cut to film this one. It's definitely not going to cut it. But bite to bite, did well to land it. It's definitely not going to cut to film though. Little stocky. Well, I moved just simply because of the weed. Like, I could have stayed over there, I'd have been confident I'd have got another bite or two, like definitely confident with another bite or two from that gap in the weed. But I was only fishing 12 wraps out, and that little stocky snapped me up solid for 40 minutes, to the point where I thought I was going to have to ring the bailey for the boat, which is not what you want to be doing. So, there's no point hooking stuff if you don't think you can land it. That's just bad angling, bad etiquette, bad fish care, it's just not the one. I mean, I could land fish from there, but it's 50-50. That one that he had was only small, 40 minutes locked up. If I'd have stayed over there, I reckon I'd get another bite or two in the morning. You know, that spot's mega, 14 foot of solid weed, either side of it, and then proper hard spot, big enough to get 3 rods on. Like I said, I'd give it half a bucket, and he had a bite off it this morning. Okay, it was a stocky, a little tiny one as well, but bite to bite, you know, a fish is a fish, you can't pick what comes on and pick you up bait, can you? I'm confident I could have got another bite or two off that spot, but if they're going to lock you up solid for 40 minutes, it's not worth it. It's really not worth it. Come round to the other side, I've seen a few fish showing out long, like real long, 150, 180. I can't reach them, but a lot less weed. Big crosswind. Got a spot there, shy 100. You're going to have to keep stopping the start, getting the rod out, wait for the wind to die down, getting the rod out, wait for the wind to die down. And I got a bucket, full 17 litre bucket. Got tubs of particle, 2.5 kilo tubs. Hemp and buckwheat, they've both gone in. And then a full 5 kilo barley, so there's 10 kilo, and then plus corn and plus other bits. 10, 11, 12 kilo, that's all going out with a spod. You know, it's going to be a full day of it. Literally a full day, it's going to have to stop and start, stop and start, stop and start. Spodding out bloody 12 kilo, but I'm going to give it him and just hope we can draw them in this way it was sent. You never know, maybe. It's a good chance. With this crosswind with sod off now, trying to get 4 rods out relatively tight at a reasonable range in this crosswind with the spod as well. I don't mind the wind, bloody good conditions for the big pit now. We've got rain coming in, big winds, it's pucker, but trying to get the rods out in it in the crosswind's not ideal. You know, a big bow in the line, all your baits landing at different ranges. What I wanted is a tight area, is now a massive area. Your rigs are landing at different ranges to what your bait's at. You're not full of confidence, you know, you're not going to bed confident. If I'm putting bloody 12 kilo of baits out, I want to know that my rigs are on top of that 12 kilo, not a wrap past or a wrap short. It needs to stop. Just need a proper break in it, it's savage. Well, it's probably time to give a bit of context to where I am. Believe it or not, I actually hate them, but I'm actually at a day ticket in this one. I love it. Don't get me wrong, I've done the old trips down Linear when I was younger, done trips to other places. I enjoyed the Pen View campaign I did for the 40 and the £50 common, but I've done the Linear trips, I've done the blanks on there, I've also done the 79 fish hauls on there, I've had the white £40 Simo balls. They're not my cup of tea, however I bloody love this place. I'm down at A1 Pits in Nottingham. It's probably hands down the best day ticket I've been to in my opinion. Got 6 pits, ranging anything from probably half an acre up to 50 acres, going up in size gradually. Every single pit's got fish over 13, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Don't really bother with them myself, but 5 and 6 are the ones that I love. 5 slightly smaller than 6, but probably trickier, more cagey. Couple of real good fish in there, you know, proper wise, proper clicky fish. Weedy, windswept. Yeah, some real nice carp in there, and they can be proper tricky, proper cagey. And then 6, big open, windy, weed swept pit. Bars, zebra mussels, full of natural food. Reasonable stock of carp, but in terms of day tickets, pretty low stocked. Pretty low stock for the day ticket, but in terms of a big pit, pretty well stocked, because obviously it's a fishery, so it's kind of in the middle. But it's got that nice balance, you know. It's got that kind of wild feel to it, but with the perks of a day ticket. Like the bailiffs now, they've done a good job. They look after it, they're always around strimming it, doing stuff like that, but they don't butcher it, you know. The pegs in there, they're all wild, proper steep and dodgy, like proper dodgy swims, but that's what I like. You know, if you're one of them who's wants to go catch a couple of fish in a session, chance of having a good 30, good 40 pounder, you want a nice clean gravel swim, you want nice facilities, you want toilets and bins right behind you, and you want names on your peg and numbers on your peg, or gravel and wood chips and that, then it's definitely not the place for you. However, it's the place for me. I don't know, I just absolutely love the place. There's not many big fish. I'm on 6 at the moment. There's not many big fish in there. There's a good handful of them. A lot of like small wildy ones, and they've recently stocked 75 stockies into it to kind of because them old ones, the proper old originals, you know, they've put some stockies in for future generations, but it can be real tricky at times. First time, I've always known about it from fishing the deep pit Manchester as a kid. A lot of the lads used to come up here fishing it. I'd always heard it's singles at range. You know, it's 50 acre pit, but it's like 450 yards across, 550 yards wide. You can Google Earth, good old tools our phones are nowadays, aren't they? You know, you put a little pin and draw it across. It's like 450 yards across, 550 wide, and the fish sit out in the middle quite a lot. You're not allowed to use bait boats. You're not allowed to use like braided mainline and that. There's also an out of bounds bit down to my right, down near the point where the caravan is. So there's a lot of water that them fish can sit in. Let's face it, not many people are fishing over 150, and it's like 60 wraps to the middle. So them fish are sitting out like 60 wraps from either side. You're never hitting them quite a lot of the time, and I'd always heard it's just singles at range fired out. First time I come down, found them in the margins, and I'm not a big caster, you know, like my maximum's like 25, so I'd always kind of put off coming down. First time I come down, first peg we rolled up in, wind was coming to it, not one for dropping in the first swim, but a 30 pound common nutted out from me to the camera away, underarmed a couple of rigs, 2 down the tree line into this bay. Ended up having 3 in the first day, up to about 20 pound, and then ended up moving. And you can park behind all your swims in here, but like swims are proper wild, you know, they're not proper manicured, but you can park behind them, you can drive around the 4 lakes, so you kind of get that perk of like the day ticket side of it. Drive around, and a couple of lads next to me in the caravan had been on 2 weeks, they'd had 1 fish. We packed up moving, like, why are you moving, you've just had 3 in a day. We found the bulk of him, sitting out long in like big massive weed bed, clear spot just shy of it, laced it with a spod, 30-40 kilo, like 8-9 hours, like literally it started off with a big red bucket, probably 40-50 litre bucket, put that in, and then I ended up making another one, that went out, and a couple of regulars either side of me packed up and moved and said, like, you've just killed this lake for like a week. As soon as it went dark, triple takes, like 16, 17 bites through the night, like ridiculous. Didn't get into any good ones, unfortunately, lost quite a few, you know, fishing savage weed, fishing over bars, it was didn't get cut off by any, but just up pulls, you know, not in good contact, but it is what it is. And come back down a week later expecting like we're onto something here, you know, you can catch them in the edge, catch them with a big beds of bait, the opposite to what everyone else is doing, blanked. Turns out that that's not the truth, you know, a lot of people are putting big beds of bait out, a lot of people are fishing the edges, but because we'd always heard singles at range, we thought we was doing something different. Turns out we're actually not doing something different, a lot of people actually do it. Blanked, yeah, and then come back down again a time later. I ended up on 5. My dad ended up on 6. My dad had a big one out of 6, like one of the real big ones, like one of the 5 biggest ones. And then I had a couple out of 5 up to like 30 pound in a little bay. It was showing over me. I properly enjoyed that. And then come back down last trip, grafted our arse off, moving about, chasing shows all over the lake. Unfortunately, coming up to spawning time, we thought with a big pit it'd be like well behind. Thought he wouldn't be anywhere near ready for spawning, but it turns out he was, and he spawned halfway through, and we had to cut the session short and go home. So now we've come back down for the 4th time, for another go, and it's 5th time, sorry. And then this session now, which hopefully is going to fall in line and be a good session. But yeah, I just love this place. I really don't like day tickets, but this place is different. You've got these 6 pits, you know, anything from like half an acre for beginners, all the way up to like 50 acre pit. When you get it going, you can have real good sessions, but you can also break your balls, you know, be real tricky. In terms of like the kind of big pits that I'd normally fish, you know, like 3 waters that aren't day tickets or aren't stocked or aren't fisheries, this is like obviously crawling with fish compared to them, and much easier. Compared to like your average, when you think a big pit, compared to what you think of as a big pit, this is generally really easy. It's like an easy big pit. But when you think of a day ticket, this is like a savagely hard day ticket. It's like in between the two. It's got that nice balance. Yeah, I absolutely love it down here. One of the places, it's the only day ticket I think I'd keep dropping back on regularly. Don't come down much, once, maybe twice a year over the last 3 years. But it's one of them places that I think I keep dropping onto every blue moon. Stock of fish in here though as well. Good handful of, not a good handful, but a couple of 40 pounders in 5 and 40 pounders in 4. Some that have been on the missing list for years, like in the out of bounds down there, there's a mirror which was last out I think 42, 44, like 5 years ago. Everyone presumed dead. Or there's the Trent as well, you have 2.5 miles of the Trent behind it, nice river. Good barbel fishing, zander fishing, pike fishing, carp in there as well. Real nice in the middle of the countryside, 2.5 miles of the river. A lot of barbel lads go on there. That's also on the complex as well, and it's a cheap ticket, you know. It's not extortionately priced, it's not 30-35 quid a night. You can fish 4 rods as well if you want, you know. Not most day tickets let you fish 4 rods, but because it's a big wide open pit, you've got a lot of wall, so you can fish the 4 rods. You're not bothered, you can fish the 4. Park right next to you. My dad sleeps in the van most nights, I throw the bivvy up. It's just a nice place to be, but half of these fish, do you reckon some escape into the Trent and some come in, so there's always that surprise element where you don't actually know fully what's in here. And then that big mirror that's been missing for years, first time I come down I was feeding it sweet corn in the outer bounds, got it on the GoPro coming in taking sweet corn, presumed dead, barely even thought it was dead. Well, I've got it on GoPro feeding it corn in the outer bounds. So you know, there's a lot of surprises in there, some real nice fish, some big old commons, a couple of big mirrors, but you've just got to get through a lot of small wildies first, like a lot of like 18, 19 pound commons, and then obviously the 75 stockies that they've put into pit 6 recently, and I think 25 into 5. But yeah, it's just a really nice place to be. Well, last night was mega. Big conditions coming in through the day, massive savage winds, rain, driving in at you. Spent 7-8 hours trying to get the rods out, you know, putting a full 12 kilo bucket out as far as I could possibly fish and trying to get 4 rods tight in it. With the swing back in that you're going to get in 17, 18 foot of water that I was fishing in, and then the lag in your line, trying to make sure that them rigs was landed at the same range of the bait was an absolute ball. Like, I spent like 7-8 hours being dead meticulous and dead fussy. I had about 25 casts where that was normally have been good enough, but no, it's not. Strip it back in, get it back out, doesn't hit the clip for another 7 times, or then hits the clip but with too much lag, and absolute nightmare getting the rods out. Spotted like a full bucket out, or 2 buckets. Evening come round, just on dark, the wind died down as it normally does. Don't know why, probably something to do with the moon, but the wind always seems to drop off on the night. Don't know how the moon affects the tides, I don't know, but it always seems to flatten the surface of the water at the night. Anyway, buddy drops off like normal, start rolling out long, real long, you know, like in the middle, which is like 60 wraps, and then like just shy of the middle, probably 40, between 40 to 60 wraps they were rolling, way farther than what I'm fishing. Coming to the dark, coming tonight, you know, full moon as well, everything was set. We got big winds, rain, coming into the full moon. Like, I mean, it's day ticket this, but it's absolutely, it's mega. We had the 3 of us, me, my dad and 1 other lad, the 3 of us on the entire lake, 50 acres, 50 acre day ticket with 3 anglers on. The 3 of us on the full moon, big winds, everything was prime, big bucket that grew about there, the rods went out 100%, 110%, bang on the money. I had a stocky come first light. Nice in about 20 years time. Oh, bloody hell.
Bite to bite, Con.
My dad, however, he had 2 small wildy commons, mid double scraper 20s. And then the old boys smashed it, pulled it out the bag. He's had a good one. One that apparently is pretty elusive. I'm not 100% sure, but going off what other people have said, handful of captures, and I mean a handful in the last 10 years. One I've seen a picture of, and it's the one that I'd probably said is the nicest fish in this pit. And I'm not just saying it because he's caught it. I'd just said it's probably the nicest fish in this pit. You know, that screenshot sat on my phone. It's been on there for 3-4 years since before they started fishing this place. Absolutely unreal, proper crusty old head, withery old British, like brittle scales, deep belly, dark as you like, ancient old relic of a common. Big one as well. So he's absolutely smashed it out of the bag there. Give us a few motivational words. Have it! I mean, after him stealing the show though, he can fish a lot farther than me. Now, I'm not a big caster, I'll openly admit. I'll admit when I'm not good at something, and I'm not good at casting. Growing up fishing the deep pit in Manchester, if you was casting, it was like under 100 yards, you know, just wazzing singles at shows, wazzing zigs at him. If I needed to go past 100 yards, you know, you could use bait boats, and then my dad had the bait boat, I'd just pitch his bait boat off him. And then when I went on to like for bigger waters that I fished, maybe like 50 acre dam runs water as like a kid, that had a massive head of carp in there, even though it's 50 odd acres. So you used to just bait everywhere, barley with a just like 80 yards and chuck to it. And then when I've been like on the 200 acre pits and that, because it's so full of bream, you don't want to be fishing 100, 200, 300 yards out, because you're getting absolutely annihilated by 14, 15 pound, well, scrape a double bream, some of them 14, 15 pound. You're getting annihilated by them. There's thousands of them in there, and there's literally 40 carp, and there's thousands of these big bream. You can't avoid them no matter what baits you use. Double tiger nut, you'll absolutely love them more than you love the boilies. You can't avoid them. So you don't want to be fishing mega ranges, because you'll be re-dropping rods every 5 minutes, so you're just fishing at a comfortable range you could spod to. And if you've got a bream throughout the night, it's not the end of the world. Wrap your rod back up, cast it back out, hit the clip, you know, easy, nice and comfortable distance. The bait was the feature more than anything. And if I did need to fish far for some bizarre reason, I had the boat, you know, I could tow them out as much as I want. The perch pit, I had the boat, not the bait boat, like the proper boats these. I could tow them out 300 yards, you know, go out in the boat to land them. Same with on the 200 acre, using the proper boats, like proper ribs. I've never needed to cast fast, and my technique isn't brilliant. Now, I know it's not all about technique. Some of it is weight. Technique's more important. Everyone will tell you technique is more important in long range casting. You know, some really small, skinny, slender lads can proper send the lead because the technique's amazing. However, my technique's not amazing, and weight does definitely help. And I'm 9 stone dead, been the same since I was 15. You know, I'm like literally 9 stone piss wet through. So I'm not the best caster in the world. He was sending them out a lot farther than me, and he was a lot closer to where them fish was showing. And yeah, he's absolutely had it off and stole the show. I've somehow ended up back in the swim that I was originally in, that I did the first night in. I come for a mooch around, and don't ask me how, but I think because I've had a fish and I snarled up for 40 minutes and I managed to pull it back through, it's kind of brought the weed up a little bit. And then them big winds that was heading left, they pushed the weed in front of my spot left, and it's all grouped up to the left in a massive thick carpet. But then that means now that I've got a channel. My line's still going over a little bit of weed, but it's only about 2-3 foot high on top of the bar. That big thick rooted weed that's like 7-8 foot high, 14 foot high, that's kind of been broken up and all pushed left and grouped up into one big thick carpet. So now I can fish into that spot quite comfortably, better line lay, and it's much safer for fishing. You know, I left here because it was bad angling if I was going to lose everything that I hooked, but now I can fish it much safer. And there was a few fish milling about in the weed with the backs out. So, and obviously I give it that 17 litre bucket, half a 17 litre bucket, and then moved off it for the night, so it's had like a night of no lines. I'd had one fish off that 17 litre bucket. No, there's no way they ate it all, I only had the one bite. And then, so obviously there was bait left there last night, and then I've packed up, got off, no lines, come back in. So I've just wrapped back up, 2 rigs into that spot where they had 3 rods, put 2 on it, dump, put another 10 spods out, just like hemp and barley and corn. No smaller items really. I just want that little bit of hemp because the snails, you know, this place is crawling. From pull my bank sticks out the other day, it's just covered in snails. It's crawling with snails, so I want that hemp just to give you that like effect of snails. Plus in the weed as well, that's where the snails are going to be. They're going to be used to eating snails in and around that spot because of all the weed. So a little bit of hemp just for the snails, the crunch factor, the imitation of snails, and then some barley and some corn. The corn just for the visual aspect to get them to drop, and then the barley because that's what I'm fishing over. Give him like 10 spods, and then I found a spot real tight for 1 rod to the right, again in the same another channel in the weed. It's one of them, it takes about 10 casts, and that weed, crack, you know, that's the one. Couple of spods on that. With 20 minutes later, the 2 rod spot that I've been fishing, that's rattled off. Well, quick bite, 20 minutes, but another stocky. There's only 73 more to go, I suppose, until I've got a chance of actually catching an original. They'll be cool in 20 years time, them though, won't they? Dark, scaly ones. Just not what you want at the moment in time. Another stocky, but a bite's a bite, but 3 stockies on the bounce now, that would be the 3 days, 3 moves, 3 fish, 3 stockies. Not ideal. Then, however, probably half an hour after that, the single rod, the new spot on the right hand, that's away. Well, 18-19 pound common, proper wildy one. Then about an hour later I've had another take off the 2 rod spot again, 20 pound common, you know, real nice and deep bellied, real nice old common. Third one. Day bites are coming now. I could probably stay here tomorrow day and get a few more, but it's something I need to do. I'm going to end up leaving tomorrow, but hopefully I can nick one more now before they push out that weed for the night, because of the oxygen. It's real thick. I don't think they're going to stay on it through the night. If it was a bit thinner maybe, but it's too thick, they're going to move out, and then hopefully pick one back up in the morning on the way back in. 2 spots rocking though. Chance of another bite, maybe 2 before they leave. Starting to get into a few originals, you know. I've had 2 of these commons now, 18 and a 20, you know, 2 originals. Kind of hoping a bigger one turned up, but yeah, I've done it. I've got me big un after 5 trips here, and they're not weekend trips, you know, they're normally quite long trips. 5 trips, I've done it. Definitely lost a few of them as well, but finally done it. I got me big un off the right hand spot again. That churned off, so 2 fish on each, but 2 fish on the single rod and 2 fish on the double spot. But yeah, finally got me bloody big un. Glad I finally got into a better fish. Not a bad one that, is it? Better weight to it compared to the last few I've been catching. It's number 6, 4th one today. It's a better fish. I'm happy with that. That'll do me now for the trip. But in terms of recent fishing, after the 200 acre, I struggled, you know, to ignite the flame, you know, to get that fire proper burning. I did the perch bit. Yeah, we caught some nice fish. Did I really enjoy it? Not really. Struggling to get that fire burning. Now at the moment I'm stuck in a bit of a bad situation. I'm still learning to drive, and I've changed jobs, so I've got different days off the old man. I'm kind of stuck to fishing local. Now we have got something that really obsesses me. Something that if I don't do it before I die, I'll be sat on my deathbed, and you know, I don't want to leave regrets in life. I've said that I don't like regret stuff, and it's one thing that I really regret if I don't do it. I'm going to be bold, really bold, and say the ultimate challenge in England. Now that's my opinion, but what is fact is it's definitely the largest lake in England, and probably the most lowest stock lake in England. So that might give some clues away as to where it is. I don't actually know if there's carp in there. I'm 99.9% sure there is, but it's the biggest lake in England, over 3,500 acres and over 250 foot deep. And like 95% of it is out of bounds, and there might not even be a carp in there. But yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment. However, when I don't have the time or the ability to get up there, I've just been fishing local. No really much of anything. I'm not going to really mention much because it's like where it's on my doorstep, it's where all my mates fish. But been fishing just a little bog standard lake. Interesting fishing, like you catch them in the edge on the night, they come right in dead close and eat the caddis gorge and the crayfish as well. So I catch them right in the edge on the night, or fishing out in the pond over big beds of bait, you know, either scattered in barley or spodding, like fishing tight on the spot, or then waking up first night and seeing them not showing anywhere near your baited area, whacking a single on the reds, you know, they show and they fizz first light, whacking a single on the reds, and yeah, catching a few. Nothing big in there, however there's like 6 or 7 unreal looking carp that I want to get my hands on. Now it's not the kind of place I'd pick to fish if he had the option of going wherever I wanted to go. You know, I've got a list on my phone of places saved that I want to fish at some point in the future, like ridiculous places. One of them's like 500 acres that has 300 islands in it, guaranteed 40 pounders in, hardly gets fished. Got a couple of big reservoirs all over 100 acres that have got 40 pounders in, and these are all northern waters. A couple of other big pits that could potentially hold 30s, 40s, but I'm not 100% sure if they hold them. There's a 1,000 acre pit that I don't actually know what's in there. There's a couple of other like 60, 70, 80 acre pits that have got 30, 40 pounders in that I want to fish. So I've got places I want to fish, big list. I'm just waiting to pass that test. You know, once I pass that test, and I've got pure freedom to go where I want, when I want. But at the moment, I've not. So I've been fishing this little local lake, real busy. Half the time I'm turning around and going home, getting on the weekend. You know, I've got weekends off and getting up on a Friday, and I'm turning around, going home. I went to go on last weekend. There's only 8 pegs on the lake. I went to go on last weekend, and there's 11 people on, and there's only 8 swims. People were doubled up in them. Turned around and went home, sat in for the weekend, sat at home, couldn't go fishing. I really do not want to be fishing there. Really don't want to be fishing there. But like I said, there's 6 or 7 nice minnows in there that I won't mind catching, and I've not really, when I've got the weekends off and can't get anywhere, it's either I go there or I don't go fishing, so I'm just trying to make the best of a bad situation. I've been catching a few. I've had 2 of the ones that I want, but there's 2 maidens out of like 7. I've not got them yet, but yeah, I'm not going to mention nothing or show nothing. I'll probably put a few clips up of the 2 nicer minnows that I've had. But you can have big hits on there. Last autumn I dropped on, did 3 sessions, had 16 fish, then come back on this spring, did 8 night blank, couldn't get on them, real busy, like every single swim taken and getting boxed off into a corner swim, no fish showing on the opposite end of the lake, I'm nowhere near them, did an 8 night blank. And then the last 3 weekends that I've been on over the last, I'm not fishing it hard, the last 3 weekends I've done over say 2 months spaced out. I've gone to go on 6 times, 3 times I've had to go home, 3 times I've made fish. Over the last 3 times I've had 10. So when you can get on them, they're catchable, but it's just too busy, way too busy for my liking. But I'm just trying to make the most out of a bad situation. That's all I can do. I just need to pass this test, then it's just pure freedom, then freedom and adventure. What went wrong last time? I think it was just timing, you know, timing's a hell of a lot in fishing. Last time we put the bloody graft in, we moved more, like, double the amount of nights that we did, we moved, double the amount of that. Really grafted, made sure we was on fish consistently, fish showing, fish rolling. Literally moved, made sure he was presenting, tried singles, tried baiting, tried zigs, tried absolutely everything, tried dropping traps in the edge. Tried absolutely everything, bounced about between pit 5 and pit 6 as well. It really put the effort in. Didn't happen, and you know, it weren't through the one to not trying. We did really try, we did absolutely graft. But I'm not trying to make excuses, but at that time of year, you know, the naturals are in abundance. Put the head torch on in the corner of 5 and it's just laced with freshwater shrimp. I mean, hundreds of thousands of them, and Daphnia as well. Put the head torch on in the night in the margins. You can't follow the lights about, you know, bloody millions of freshwater shrimp, millions of Daphnia. Then you've got all your snails, your zebras, your bloodworm. There's a lot absolutely crawling with it. And a lot of the shows that we were seeing were like proper ziggy shows. You know, these weren't coming up. I always think that when you see a carp come quite far up, that's coming from a depth, you know, because it's got to have that force, that trajectory to throw itself out the water. If you've seen the carp come out like halfway or the full amount, that's got to be coming from a reasonable depth to kind of be able to force itself out. Now when they're just kind of flicking on the surface, they're probably already quite high up, and obviously with the amount of shrimp and Daphnia, they're probably up eating the shrimp and Daphnia up near the top. Proper ziggy, really persevered with the zigs, just wasn't a one. We just thought that because it was a big pit, it took a lot longer for it to warm up, and that they wouldn't have been ready for spawning yet. Where other places get ready for spawning, we thought because it's a big pit, it'd take a lot longer to warm up, it'll be like a few weeks behind, which sometimes is the case. Like same again in autumn, you know, when some places start shutting off for the winter, your big pits can carry on fishing really well because they take longer to cool off because the volume of water, but in turn they also take longer to warm up and because the volume of water, so we thought that they wouldn't be ready for spawning yet. However, there's other factors, you know, if we'd had big winds down here, like consistent big winds and sun, that warms it up quick, you know, the heat of the sun hitting the surface of the water, and then the friction of the waves, that's creating kinetic energy, which creates heat, and that warms the water up. You know, if you get consistent big winds and sun, the surface of the water gets warm, and then the friction of the waves, you know, that creates heat, and that can warm a pit up quite quick. And obviously the bigger pit, the more open it is to wind, the more open it is to waves, the quicker that plays effect, so to speak. But yeah, they started spawning, well then we had to cut it short. Just didn't work, just didn't pan out. But it's not exactly gone off this trip either though, you know, it's not, I wouldn't even really class it as much of a day ticket. It's not like any day ticket I've fished. In a way it is, because you kind of have to pay to come here, you know, but it's not like the kind of day tickets. This can be bloody ball breaking, but it can also be easy when you get it right, you know, like as I said, first ever time I fished it, I caught a few in the day right in the edge after hearing it's a singles at range water, and then I moved after having like 3 fish. Within like a few hours I moved, give it like 40 kilo spods, and it just went off, you know, like couldn't keep rods in the water. Conditions, the spot was right, the fish was there, I seriously fed him, and then yeah, the conditions were all you needed, and then fish got their heads down on that bait, and yeah, they just kept coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back, and just absolutely powered through it, and the bites kept coming. It can be bloody easy when it all falls together, when all the moons and all the planets align. It can be easy, as with any lake really. However, when it's not going so great, it can be an absolute ball breaker. You know, big open pit, savage weed, reasonable at the fishing lake, but a lot of natural foods, a lot of areas that are unfishable. You know, like I said, 60 wraps in the middle from either side. No one's fishing that. There's a massive, say out of the 50 acres, there's probably 15 acres in the middle, which is just no man's land. No one's fishing it, especially not with bait. And then you've got a lot of bounds down to the right. You know, you've got all the weed, the bars, there's it. Oh, it can be bloody ball breaking, but you should be catching a few. This trip hasn't exactly gone off though. You know, I've worked really hard again this trip. Gone through 2 full bags of squid, which is like 10 kilo of squid. Then I've gone through like 4 or 5 buckets of particle. You know, I've probably gone through 40 kilo this trip. Granted, last time I put 40 kilo in a night, I've not done that quantity of bait, but I've done probably 40 kilo this trip. Moved a good few times. You know, real grafted, really grafted. It's not actually gone off like, but we've had a couple. Actually a double take on last light, been sat here thinking, how come it's not happened, you know? How come it's not happened, just to move down that weed? Double take on last light. Worst time you could ask for a double take, you know, if you're getting drags back in on tight little spots. Landed one, hook pull one, first loss. It's my 9th bite, first loss. It's not ideal, but you know, it's just the way you went. Got the take at the wrong time. £20 original mirror. Cooling. Get a bit of photo video on the phone as well, because obviously the light's horrendous. Trying to use my head torch. £20 original. Happy days. Gutted I got 2 takes at the same time though. Ended up hook pulling the other. Well, I've decided to stay and do a 4th night in this swim. Today's been pretty dead though, I've not had a day bite. However, there's a lot of fish sat in the weed to my right, quite close in, tenting in there. Granted, pretty small ones. However, it's not happened today, but I think it's been that warm today that they're not interested in coming in and out the weed beds and dropping down on the spots feeding. I think they're more interested in just like sunbathing. So hopefully when them temps drop tonight, you know, you've clocked them spots, you know that bait's there. Hopefully when you come out tonight and they're a bit more active, not just docile lay up in the weed, you might get the edge down and might get on that bait again. I'm winding in and going to bed. I'm sick of these little things. Well, it turns out they don't really push out that weed for the night. It's been absolutely hectic. You know, the first night I'd had one, and then I'd moved again, I'd had one. The last 2 nights now, I've managed to wrap that number up to close to 30 odd fish. Yeah, probably close to 30 fish, but pretty much all small ones. Wound in, well I didn't wind in, but as I had bites I stopped putting them back out about 3 in the morning. I had 1 rod left, you know, that single rod that had gone through the night, but I put it back out, and once I decided to wind them in, the 2 that had gone on the 2 rod spots, I didn't put them back out, and then the single rod that's been put back out after catching, I just left that in. That's woke me up first light to another fish, so I thought, right, get up today, get them back out, I'm going to do the day in and in, I'm going to move, with my perception being that the last few times that we fished there, probably done 5 sessions, you know, we done 2, maybe I think 2 blanks. We've had 3 good trips, including this, and 2 blanks. Now, I don't know off the top of my head, say we've done 30 odd nights here, you know, because they're quite long sessions. Say we've done 30 nights. I also enjoy fishing 5, so I reckon I've probably done 10 of them nights on 5. My dad's probably done 3 of them nights on 5. So I've probably done roughly, just rough numbers, 20 nights on here. Maybe 20 odd, just over 20. My dad's done probably 27, 28 nights in there, because he's only done 1 or 2 on 5. Now, he's probably had in total about 15 fish out of here. He's had 4 this trip, because he had another one this morning. He's had 4 this trip. He had 1 big one once as a single fish. and then he's probably had about 5 the first time he's down. Now I've probably had getting on for 50 fish, you know, I think probably 20 fish that big that I had the first time, 15, 20 fish, probably 30 fish now, probably getting on for 50 fish. He's at about 15, and he's done more nights than me, you know. I've done less nights than him and caught probably 4 times as many as him. Now, however, that's not me bigging myself up, because he's had a better fish, a much better fish. You know, he's had another one today, another caught, a ridiculous jet black one. Now, obviously, he's on the other side, he's sat it out around the other side. He couldn't get his head around fishing in the little holes in the weed. He wants to be fishing off a big beds of bait, and now it's each to their own, different styles of angling. I'm quite happy setting little traps and that, but he wanted that big bed out, so he's sat it around in that deeper water, clearer water, where you can do that more effectively. He's had another one this morning now. Don't know why, because he doesn't know how to use it, but he's recently bought his own camera. Doesn't have a clue how to use it, he's not bothered learning. So the pictures are horrendous, you know, self-takes. Obviously I'm on the opposite side of the lake. Can't go around to do pictures for him. So I'll probably bang them up, but it's just another mega crusty old ancient common, you know, one of the better fish again. Crusty old, just ancient thing, and that's his only, like, he's not getting many bites, but he's getting a better stamp, whereas I'm getting consistent action, you know. I've had a couple of blank trips, but then when I've caught like big numbers of fish, you know, big hits. I think I'm fishing on the pack, you know. I'm fishing on the pack, he's fishing off the back of him, catching them slightly bigger fish, not catching nowhere near as many, but catching them much bigger fish. So I think I'm going to do today in here, then pack up, and I'm going to go join him for the last night, you know, probably squeeze another one night in, and there's somewhere I want to go, a little special lake that we've wrecked before, proper wildies, never been stocked. Really, really, really nice place. I want to go there for the last couple of nights, and then maybe at the big lake. But I'm going to go join him round on the other side. I don't feel like I'm going to... Obviously I've had 1 or 2 better fish here, you know. I had a midder the other night as well, which could have been 25, 26. Didn't weigh it because it comes as part of a double take. I'm trying to do self-takes with an external flash that I'm still learning how to use. So I'm trying to do self-takes, external flash. I've had a double take, I want to get rods back out, it's pitch black. Didn't bother weighing it, it could have been 25, 26. Obviously I've had a decent common as well, a couple of over 20 pound commons, but I'm getting a lot of them smarlings, you know. He's not getting nowhere near as many bites, but he's getting them proper old ancient relics. They're what I want. So I'm going to go join him round there, but I'm going to get him back out now, and then do the day in here, because obviously this is the day bites, he's only getting his bites for the night, and then I'm going to push round there for the night and join him for the last go. It's happened again, hasn't it? Moved, grafted, caught from every move, like. I'd got a few fish in here, you know. Obviously I'd caught one out of here, then I've moved back in here after giving it a big bucket, no lines on it, big bucket of bait, you know, on this spot. Obviously the wind and the fish has bloody pushed that weed out the way. Mega, drops back in, catches from the off instantly. Got up today, you know, we've got a big storm brewing today. We should still be in this weed with the temps, it's like 23 degrees. Got a big storm brewing, gonna kick off in about 3 hours time. So I've been dead meticulous, got up, first light, I'd had another one first light again, another little football thing. Got up, fishing spots within the spots, you know. Got these 2 channels, got one with a 1 rod and one with the 2 rods. Where there's no weed on the surface, there's still weed under the surface, if that makes sense. Sometimes you get like the muffled drop. Now they are coming back in, when you strip it back up, there's nothing on the hook. That's just landing in like a soft blanket, you know, soft silt. But at every blue moon you'll get a crack, and they're the ones that seem to be doing the bites. So I've been dead meticulous, you know, 7, 8 of them good enough to present it, 7, 8 casts were presented, but I kept recasting until I got that crack. Got 2 back out there, another 7, 8 spods. Same again with my single rod, wait until I got that crack. Couple more spods. Been dead meticulous of it, literally fishing spots within the spots. Got me bait out, like I said, a few spods. Ready for it throughout the day. See, I'm a big believer that we clock spots. I'll always bait up hours before I think that the chance of a bite's coming. One, because it lets it settle. You don't want to be baiting over the top of fish at bite time. But also, I'm a big believer that they clock spots. You know, when they're coming in and out of these weed beds throughout the day, in and out. But if there's a bit of bait, even if they're not interested in feeding, I'm a big believer that as they're swimming over it, they'll notice it, and then come dusk time, they know it's there and they'll come back to it. I'm a big believer that they clock spots anyway, hence why like pre-baiting works. I think that's why it works. But been dead meticulous and that, got the rods out perfect, got baited hours in advance of when I think it's going to kick off. There's already fishing here through the night, you know, caught through the night, caught first light, but when the bulk of the fish come back in, you you know, because obviously most of them do push out for the oxygen, but there's obviously a few still, because I caught a few, but more will come back in as it warms up today, and big winds, you know, rain, more will come back in. So I've been meticulous, got all the bait ready, everything. Started spawning again. Not properly, like 20 little males, you know, it's bloody mid-July, well into July, sorry, not mid, but well into July. Big storm coming in about 4 hours time as well. There's about 30 bloody angry little males. Yeah, well, timing again now. So she wrote, but this weather system's moving in, you know, it's overcast now, it's getting dismal and that. I've been for a mooch round 5, but it's weekend now. I love 5 as well, you know, 5's an intimate, well, it's not intimate, it's reasonable size, but it's proper tricky, cagey, clicky fish. I love it on there. Some big fish as well, some real cool ones. Probably a better stamp of fish than 6s, as I've mentioned. But I've been for the mooch round there, but it's weekend, and because the weed's quite bad, it puts a lot of people off fishing 6. The weed's not that bad in 5 compared to 6. It puts a lot of people off fishing 6, and then obviously a few people would have clocked some spawning this morning. So everyone's kind of congregated on 5. Plus it's the weekend, and you know, these are pressured carp as it is. With all these lines and then that, I don't think it's the one at the moment. There's literally a handful of swims left. You know, so you're not getting on the fish, and then obviously all the lines and the fish are going to be proper. It's just not the one. So I'm going to call it a day here, I think, and get off and go to this little wild pit, you know, never been stocked, some real cool carp in it. Proper looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. It's just too far to get up to, but obviously we're down this neck of the woods. I've been really looking forward to it since I wrecked it last year. But we're going to head up there now, and then probably do a night or 2 up there, and then head up to Big Lake, you know, for that last finale of this little road trip. Why not spend it up on the Big Lake, you know, proper the base, epic vistas, mega sunsets, proper just escapism and adventure all just encapsulated into this one place. It's, you can't even describe it. I'm just looking forward to that. So we're going to do a night or 2 in this little pit, and then continue the adventure, big long drive, massive long drive up to the Big Lake, and go chill out just in the most epic of surreal surroundings that you could possibly imagine, and that sounds good to me. But I'll definitely be back here. You know, like I said, it's the only paid lake I enjoy fishing. I want to try and get myself into some of them better fish. I catch a lot more than my dad on here. My dad catches a lot less, but he catches the much better stamp of fish. So I think next time I'm going to avoid fishing on the pack. You know, if I'm seeing them like that nutting out, just proper biting the tongue, and no, I'm not fishing for them, I'm not fishing for them. Now obviously everything is a carp angle that you've ever learned is when they're sat there on the end of a wind, you know, boom, 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 big southwesterly and like that. Just get on them, get some rods in them, but I'm going to not do it next time I come up. Don't know when it's going to be, you know, I don't get a lot of time anymore. That's a misconception with me. A lot of people that know me think, you get a hell of a lot of time to go fishing. I used to, don't anymore. Probably 4 nights a month. And then obviously these longer sessions now on my holidays. All my holidays aren't being used on fishing as well. You know, I've got a social life and that as well. Other stuff I need to get done. Probably getting 4 nights a month to go fishing, realistically. And then I mean 2, maybe 3 longer sessions like these now throughout the year. I'm not getting much whatsoever at the moment, just with work and other stuff I've got going on. A lot of people still seem to think that I'm like I used to be back in the day, you know, going doing 6, 7 nights a week, and like that's what I used to do when I used to have the freedom, no responsibilities. But obviously that's life, isn't it? As you get older, you get more responsibilities, you get less time. That's just part of life, unfortunately. But don't get much time now, so hopefully I can manage to get another trip up here this year. 50-50 whether I'm going to do or not. You know, it's not worth the drive up for 2 nights. It's not worth the drive for the weekend. And we're going to get, and obviously getting on the weekend, it's rammed as well. You don't get as many, it's not rammed, it's never that busy, but you don't get the full options. You know, I want to be getting up midweek and stuff. Will I get to do it? I don't know, but if I do, I'm literally going to sit it out. You know, if I get 4 nights up here, 5 nights, and I sit it out for maybe 1, 2 bites and just hope and pray that they're big ones. I know for a fact I could go get near that weed, get on the pack and probably cane 20, 30 fish in 5 nights if I get on them and feed them and all the planets and moons align. But I don't think I'm going to get into them better fish that way. You know, he goes to show I probably had 50 fish, my dad's probably had 15, and he's done more nights than me, and he's had better ones than me. There's got to be something in it, you know, you can't be coincidence. So as happy as I am getting bites, I've had me bites out of here now, you know, I've had probably 50 odd fish. That's me fun. I've had me fun in games now. Next time I'm down fishing it for the big one, but for now it's all about the adventure. Proper adventure. Really looking forward to it.
We spent an enjoyable evening on the wild pit, catching many carp. The action was pretty manic.
Said this lake's never been stocked, it's in the flow.
Yeah, it's all mussels, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why they got such big rubbly mouth.
Before eventually rounding up the perfect adventure of a night or two on the big lake.